Hey everyone, so here we are back to our VFX shot with Iron Man and Thor. And we at this point we have the thunderbolts taken care of, we have our sparks, and we're gonna start working on the adding a layer of smoke to this. So for that I'm gonna hide these, hide the sparks as well, and I'll hide Iron Man as well. Now there's something from the sparks that we can actually grab, which is these two where we're grabbing the hits, and this is something that we're gonna want to use as well. So we'll grab these and just Control C, and we'll also want this, but let's go first create a new geonode, and we'll call this smoke source. Let's go inside, and here I'm gonna paste Control V. So we'll have our hits, okay? Now the other thing we'll want is we'll also want to grab Iron Man's geometry. So I believe we had that here as well. So get Iron Man geometry, we're blasting some pieces of it. So for now I'm just gonna grab this one, Control C, go to smoke, Control V. And how what we're going to be using as a source for our smoke is actually the surface of Iron Man. And for that, we need to isolate the areas where the hits are closest to. So we'll do an attribute, we'll apply color to the geometry that's coming from Iron Man. Let's middle mouse button to confirm that we do have polygons and all that stuff. And we'll say that Iron Man is completely black. Let's say it's black. And these points are going to be white. Make sure that the color is in points. Okay, point. And what we're going to do is we're going to contaminate the areas of that are closest to these points using an attribute transfer. So we can use an attribute transfer. And we'll transfer the white from these points to Iron Man. And all we want to transfer is CT. Okay, we just want to transfer the color. And right now the conditions here are the distance threshold is huge. So we want something smaller, like 0.1, something like that. 0.1, maybe 0.15. And we're grabbing a good amount of area with this. Okay, this is the area that's going to be emitting smoke. And once we've done that, what we can do is we can actually delete everything that's not white. We can create a point wrangle, or we can actually use a blast for this. Let's use a blast. The blast tends to be faster than a delete. You can also use a delete, but the delete isn't as fast because the delete has a lot more options. But here on the blast, we can probably write something as simple as $cd.x. So the attribute color, the x component of the attribute color is lower than 0.1. Let's say for points, we delete. Okay, and we get this. Everything that's below 0.1 is being deleted, and that way we only have those areas. Now this surface has normals, yeah, which will also become useful. And now that we have this, we can just clean up the geometry. Let's just apply a clean. It's not extremely essential, but just make sure that we don't get any residue or weird points floating about. So this is a better result. As you can see, we don't have those extra stuff. So okay, now from this we're gonna apply our now familiar pyro source, and we'll be generating the necessary attributes to actually generate. So for now, we're gonna source smoke, and we're gonna do a surface scatter. For point separation, let's start with something small, 0.005. Let's see how much this gives us. It's quite a bit. So let's start small. for now, for the purpose of being just making sure that it's fast. And we have these values, and I'm going to keep these defaults. Let's add some noise to this. Attribute noise. And we will want to add noise to both things. So as usual, I'll start with color just so to make it, just so it is more visible. But then we'll switch this to density and temperature. The signature needs to be 1D. We only want a float. And here, let's say animated. Let's center the noise. Let's remap it from -1 to 1. And let's say the pulse duration is 5. The element size is going to be quite small, 0.05, something like this. As you can see, we get some nice things like that. Maybe 4 here. Yeah, these values should work. It's a very long pulse length, so it's going to keep constant, but in truth, it's not going to be very relevant because the area that's going to be emitting the smoke is actually always changing. So changing position and changing the area itself. So this is always going, the pattern is always going to be changing. Even if the pulse is quite a bit slow, it's always going to be changing. Okay, let me just increase the density here so that we can actually see it clearer. 0.05. Okay, let's play with the distribution here. We probably don't need a fractal. Let's go to none. 0.04, smaller. And let's establish that the minimum is going to be 0. Okay, and I think this is going to give us, let's say here, -1.2, 1.2. That way we get more contrast. Okay, I think this will work. So here on the attribute noise, I'm just going to switch this to density and temperature. You do have an operator called point velocity, and it's a quick way for us to, we can initialize, keep incoming because we already have velocity coming from the surface of Iron Man. So we can keep incoming and quickly add a bit of curl noise. It's another way of adding noise. You can either do that via a point warp, a point angle, or use a point velocity for that purpose. Now let's do some adjustments here. So I'll say the scale is 5. I want it animated as well. Let's say the pulse duration 0.25, 0.15 on the swirl size, and add a bit more of grain here. Good amount of turbulence, and you'll see we get something completely different. It's going to be all over the place, but this should give us some nice variation on when the smoke is being emitted from these points, from the source. And finally, we'll just rasterize. Volume rasterize attributes. Let's connect it here. And the attributes that we want to rasterize are density, temperature, and velocity. Okay, and that way we get everything. Make sure you don't have any typos. And here on the voxel size, I'm also gonna keep using the same connections as before. So we'll copy this parameter and we'll do a paste relative references here. And we'll just reduce this to the same value, 0.005. And this is the volume that we have. Remember, we're not just seeing the density. Okay, and that's it. So I'll just do null. out smoke source. And we have our source ready. On the next lesson, we'll move on to actually preparing the top network for this.